Right, well, today's guest, Tracy Clark. Thanks for joining us, man.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're the founder of Balance Bat, a product we use every day at the facility. It's a weighted knob bat that has an extended knob that allows kind of for a different weight distribution. I kind of wanted to ask you some questions about it, man, and how it kind of evolved, and just kind of bounce some ideas back off of you. As far as the swing goes, there's a lot of information out there, and I think you're one of the guys that kind of understands how the swing works through doing, the research that you've done. And so the first question is, how did you develop the bat, man?
Well, it was first of all, thanks for having me. The bat really evolved out of a lunch conversation. So during my summers, the last handful of years, during summer camps, I'm around a bunch of really good coaches, high school coaches, college coaches. And so we were at lunch one day just talking about the basic concept of how to help players, youth players, keep their hands inside the pitch. And since I have a doctorate, I figured there was something out there already. So when I went home, I started researching things out and didn't really see anything that was driving for the youth player. And so then I found some devices out there, some bats out there, and they're good bats, good products, but it still wasn't hitting what I wanted it to hit. So then immediately I started thinking about the science, the body, how the body moves, and fell in love with velocity-based training principles. And so I started researching a lot of that. And before I even turned to bat, I developed an algorithm because I wanted to know and I wanted to see how much weight back here would really make a difference with up here with the barrel within the player. And so with the algorithm, whether I got lucky or not, I don't know. I kind of landed on some numbers, and from there turned to bat. Immediately, I had a couple of guys swing it, a couple of players swing it. I swung it. I'm like, yeah, we're like, there's something here. So then I made a model proportional for my son, and he was 5 at the time. I know people probably think I'm nuts or crazy because he's 5 and he's swinging this. I'm like, I'm just trying to help him, at as early of an age as possible. And then immediately, I'm going to say within about 100, 120 swings, T-swings, his swing went from where his setup was pretty good, and then pre-bounce bet, he was losing the barrel right here. He was hands to the knob. He was pushy. After about over 100 swings, he started to actually be able to feel his body turn. And then it was roughly, I'm going to say about 4 inches, because with video, obviously, about 4 inches from the contact on the tee. That's when the barrel would dip a little bit. And so then I contributed that to, he's 5, he's not real strong. So there's some elements there. And so then I liked the algorithm, made some other models, some different sizes, started just kind of trial and error, prototyping out with different players, and almost everyone to the player was telling me they felt different. Their hands felt different. Their body felt different. And then from there, I mean, I've studied a lot of things with the bat. Part of the studying with the bat is I tried to kill it. Tried to kill the project like 4 times. Walk away from it, do something else, have a different hobby. But then someone would bring it back to me, and I'm like, okay, it's doing this and doing this. And then about 3 years ago, I'm in Pennsylvania, so we have the Barnstormers in the Atlantic Conference Independent League down here. So I got to meet a bunch of them, and they started swinging the bat. And then so from a pro level all the way down to the youth level, even the T-ball level, I was seeing evidence, physical evidence, like with them swinging it, hitting it, that, it could help really anyone. Pro players are different in how they helps them. Youth players are different. And so essentially I've just kind of kept with it, kept grinding out with it. I think in the back of my mind I've been still trying to kill it, but like it just won't die. And then the last probably 5 months, 6 months has really gotten some good attention. Some pro players have been swinging it, using it over the winter. High schools, facilities, And and I'm okay demoing out to certain people that I know that are in the hitting world, hitting business, because it's more of the feedback that I'm looking from, like from yourself, that you can give back to me, and then just keep kind of moving with it. And then even today, I get calls or contacted, what about the softball bat? What about a game bat? And so those things are kind of milling, in my to-do list as far as exploring those options as well.
Yeah, I definitely noticed the rising popularity among hitting coaches. Like you, I'm on Twitter and Instagram a lot, looking at swings, looking for new things, looking for articles to read. I'd say the biggest feel that for me, because I definitely tried it when I first got it. It gives the barrel a sense of weightlessness. It gives the barrel a sense of a little more whippiness to it, a little more of a turn. And you gave me ones with a couple of different weights. One had a shorter weight on the bottom, one had a longer weight.
Yep.
And it's interesting to see kind of how we incorporate drills that can translate to the swing. And like I noticed on your website that you have an area where they have certain drills. Is there any drills in particular that you have kind of narrowed down to a few drills that you really like to use with the balance bat?
Yeah, there's about three or four that I really do like, and one of the things is I don't see myself as a hitting expert. I'm just more of a student of hitting, and part of that is because I think we're all in it, for our own kids and family, and so like I say it all the time, like I'm really worried about two hitters in the world right now, and trying not to mess them up. So that's why I go out and I research and I look for all the experts, those that have the time in. And the drill wise, I do have a page there, and I'm starting to collect, instructors such as yourself, Trianauts, Marco Medina, out of Texas that do some drills with the bat that really work. The couple of drills that I are go to drills with me. One is to help feel the it's weird in my mind, but help feel the connection of the lower half and upper half. In my study and in my research, I truly understand now there's only one muscle that connects your legs up with your spine and up through your shoulders, and that's the psoas muscle. And that's right in the middle of your pelvis and right there where your hip flexors are. And so we always try, we got to engage, we got to load, we got to coil, our weight. And so it's just the basic stork drill. Tewksbury, I forget what he calls it, but it's basically a one-legged drill. And from there, players, because of the knob, allows you to kind of tip the barrel and feel just almost no bat in your hand. It allows the player to understand what they're trying to do with their lower half. And so it's just basically a back leg, one-legged drill. And then as a player, basically learns to load and coil. And then I'm getting away from the word shifting my weight. I'm like sliding my weight a little bit. Part of that is, I think, a terminology piece with me, with the players that I work with, even with my own son, as far as like having them understand how their body, their center of pressure within their feet, and then their center of mass within their body, how we don't want the body to really get pushy, get really the momentum. I believe in momentum, but I don't believe in a lot of momentum. So I just kind of call it slide. So as a player within the balance bat, all I say is basically get into a historic position, and as they load, the bat's going to stay right behind the knob. I actually focus on the knob too because it's a nice visual. We'll say, take the knob or do this with a knob. Well, this you got a knob to see, so a player can spatially figure out where that needs to be. And then as they load and gather and coil in the back, then it's just take a swing. And once a player satisfies that or kind of masters that, then all I do is I add some explosive moves to it, whether it's a hop, a jump. I forget where I saw it, but I'll have a player stork on a box, small box, about 6 inches off the ground, and essentially it's a box jump. So they'll jump down, they'll land on their trail leg, and then as they're landing, proprioceptively, they're trying to control their body because they don't want to fall. So then what they do is they're controlling their body, and actually on video it's kind of weird. Some players will actually start to coil in midair.
Right.
So as they're coiling in midair, then they're able to get into a pretty good launch position to hit. So that's one, and then the other one for an upper is just trying to create some some lag. Just trying to get players to feel this angle right here. It's almost a golf, kind of approach of trying to maintain, an acute angle right here and keep it deep into their swing. So simply the drill is just an over exaggerated kind of hand swivel, hand pivot, and then what I do, I tell them, it's just an exaggeration. Just hang on to it. So as you then coil back, as you're trying to get into a launch position, just hang on to it. And then one last I'll share, which I've just kind of haven't come up with it. It's just using the bat for it. I'm a proponent in swing arc, and so trying to build that Nike swish, that get the barrel to the bottom of the arc, which I contribute a lot of my thoughts with that with Darren Everson. He's with the Rockies right now.
Mm-hmm.
He's been using the balance bat with his players, his facility players, and some pro players last year, and we talked swing arc a lot. But like using the knob to help use that as a paintbrush to paint the Nike swish. And players, especially younger players, can really kind of visualize that, and then start to incorporate that within their swing. So there's a couple of drills that I really are go-to drills.
Yeah, that's great. I really feel like the balance bat gives the hitter the idea where the access point should be and where everything should turn. There's so many hitters that come into me with long hand paths that really take forever to get to the ball. I struggle on inside pitches, struggle on outside pitches because there's no power. They have to have perfect timing for everything to kind of line up. So I really feel like this allows the hitter to take their swing to the next level, which is, a tighter, shorter swing, which you can kind of take with you to face a guy throwing harder with some off speed. And it's definitely a great concept. I wanted to mention your website. It's balancehitting.com, correct?
Actually, we made a move about 5 months ago to balancebat.com.
Balancebat.com.
Yeah, so originally it was balancehitting.com, and because about 6 months ago we really put a lot of effort into the bat, and so we flipped everything over to balancebat.com.
That's what you are on Instagram. So if you want to check him out on Instagram, he's at Balance Hitting, and at Twitter, same thing, Balance Bat. Correct. I want to continue with some questions here. As far as a youth player using this, you said that there was times when you might have felt that the weight of the barrel kind of contributed to some lagging. As far as what we teach at the facility, we really try to push our young kids with heavy bats and the control. And if they get to the point where they're losing the control, we kind of switch the drill and stop it. It's probably a somewhat of a tiring out of an exhaustion, but I feel like this can be a great thing for parents and coaches to hear, is how to develop a player with a youth bat. And so you guys make youth bats in like 29s, 30s.
Even 22. We go all the way down to 22.
So like for the 5-year-old.
Yeah, so like this is what's pretty cool. This is like my son's very first bat. And this is like 4 years old. And so with his, we made I think I made him a 25 is what it is. And one of the things that, as a teacher, trying to develop skills, motor skills, get into that. And I on Twitter, it's a great, and it's a lot of fun for me to read. We get into the different learning theories, of children. I think I've probably had 12,000 students that I've taught over the last probably 15, 16 years. And everyone's different. Everyone's so different. And there's not really a cookie cutter element to it. But if there are some consistencies, it's in implicit and explicit learning. And one of the things with the youth model, the youth bat that I wanted was, and you kind of implied it a little bit, those players get tired. They're kids, and they get tired. And I know as dads and as coaches, we're trying to get them to master a certain position and a certain pattern. And one of the things when designing the actual balance bat is I wanted to avoid that. So I wanted the bat to actually be a functional tool, because if it's not functional and transfers into your game or game bat, then I don't see the purpose for it. And so with that youth player, some of the drills that I'll do with a 5 or a 6 year old, and these drills are out there, whether it's PDS out of Conshohocken, whether it's yourself, or whether it's other instructors, the neck slot, having players just kind of neck slot their bat. And when I do it, I'll have the player actually look at the knob. And it's just a drill, and all it's intended for them to do is just keep the bat right here, look at the knob, and then try and launch the barrel off their shoulder. Because then I think you're accomplishing a couple of things. One is you're taking the weight, definitely weightlessness, creating weightlessness with the bat. They're trying to figure out visually where this knob is, and then immediately you start to see shoulder plane. They're starting to kind of match up shoulder planes a little bit, and take away and feel their lower half of that counter rotation. And so one of the things that I'll do with definitely young players, even my own sons that are 10 and 8, is dry swings with it. Because you don't have to hit a ball. In my mind, you don't have to hit a ball to develop your pattern with your body. And if you can master the dry swing, and then you carry that into, players for flips and players, whatever you're doing with them, then it just kind of starts to compound on itself as far as that player goes. And we all know, like, a pro player that's got kind of or a high school player that's got a little hitch in their swing, trying to get that hitch out of the swing takes a lot of reps, a lot of perfect reps. And so in my mind, really with the balance bat, I was trying to actually avoid the hiccups. So they developed a pattern, early on in their baseball, softball career. Then as they get bigger, then it's just kind of left up to how big they get, how committed they are, the training that they get into when they're 16, 17 years old.
Yeah, that's funny that you say that because that is my go-to drill right now. I really love getting a hitter to get into a spine that's a little tilted over the plate and really feel that snap from that position, and not letting the bat kind of come off the shoulder, which is, I find, the hardest part of the drill. And even when I watch myself do it the first times, my bat naturally wants to drift off my shoulder and get back to where it kind of is used to hitting. And the more you really work on keeping it there, the tighter the swing feels, and the more it really stays next to the shoulder. So that's a great drill. I've been using that, like you said, with the balance bat. I use that with an end-loaded bat. So as far as your research has gone, I mean, you've done a ton of research, which is the coolest thing about this, is that, it's not just a bat that you've made, but you've done the research. What is the range of weight that you guys use? So obviously it's a little different for the youth. Is there a certain range of weight that you guys are using and you're sticking to that weight, or do you guys, make a bat that, is extra and, loaded on the knob?
Well, that's a great question, because I started looking at velocity-based training. Everyone that looks at it, the Russians, the U.S. researchers that have done it, the weighted balls that are out there right now stand to that 20%. And that's what I originally started at. But then I didn't actually quite see some of the changes, not immediate changes, but just long-term changes with some players that were swinging the bat. So then I started, again, trial and error, kind of playing with the weight. So the weight that we've landed on is about 30%. So the overloads, like a 32-inch overload training bat, weighs roughly about 40 ounces. The body feels that 40 ounces. You don't feel that neurologically, because of the torque with the knob itself. It just reduces that torque on the top hand here. So almost at a central nervous level, you don't quite feel it. and so therefore your swing weight is closer to about 27 ounces. So like when a player swinging a drop 329 or drop 332, they actually even say that the bat, although it's 40 ounces, weighs much less than what their game bat is, and that's the goal. That's the goal, to get them to feel that, the pattern itself. With some pro players that we're working with, we've looked at trying to help them because they're more, um, they're adults. They're strong. They're in the off season. They're getting their work in. They're big boys. Some of them are pretty big boys. So some of the pro players early on didn't feel, they wanted more weight. They wanted to feel their barrel right here. I work with out of our facility a guy named Vinny Belnomi. So he's got some time in the majors with Tampa Bay. Was drafted by San Diego. And so I kind of go to him sometimes too, as far as what do you think. So with the pro players, because the pro players are trying to feel a little bit more weight, what we've done is, and we're working on it right now, is trying to give them the option of having a little bit of weight to add to it. We've looked at, I'm in steel country almost, so I have some friends that are manufacturers, steel manufacturers. So I've had them manufacture me knobs. This particular knob weighs about 4 pounds, and I'm like, all right, let's just make it and let's see what it does. And in the research and the trial and error and some of the video and bat sensor, we use a lot of bat sensors. One of the technologies we use is called 4D motion, so it's a biomechanical system that gives you really good readings quickly on how a player, when they swing, where their body position are. And so the weight that for almost everyone else, and my son, I'll say it as my son goes, it's right around that 30%. But with some of the older players, the pro players, we're okay trying to make the adjustment for them. Part of that is the understanding as you get into 18 plus, as far as adulthood, everyone's different. Everyone's different at 9, at 5, and they're different at 22, 23. And so the feels that they need to feel within their swing, they may need a little bit more weight, or in theory may need a little bit less weight. One of the things that I'll say too is I'm trying to size bats, for kids, youths, and pro players that get big. I actually think most players, including a lot of pro players, probably use a little bit too long of a bat. And so one of the things that we've ran into is a pro player will have like a 34.5-inch bat. I'll give them a 33-inch balanced bat, and they'll kind of balk a little bit at it. And I'm like, it's not going to change your contact point. It's not going to change anything except for maybe keep you in a little bit tighter pivot, a little bit better turn, and feel a little bit better connected. And then they'll swing it, and then they'll go back to their game bat, and you're like, yeah, you're right. It does kind of help with that a little bit. And again, it's all about the body position. It's about how the barrel, the depth of the barrel, their swing arc, and how they're actually, accelerating through the ball. But like one of the things is that, and I keep saying it to myself, 20% is a good starting point. And although we're closer to 30%, I don't know, maybe 30% is not it either. That's why I continue to do the research, and that's why I have like a handful of players that I've followed along with over the last 3 years, and I'm watching their progression with the weight and with the bats that they're using.
Yeah, thanks for a little sneak peek into some of the future technology in the game. Gotta love the technology.
Yeah.
We've thrown our blast sensor, blast technology sensor on the knob. We've got it on there, and it's amazing how the increase in barrel speed happens, and without the kids don't even realize it. Half the time they don't realize it just feels a little bit better, and they feel a little quicker. They don't realize how much it's actually helping them increase the more they create acceleration behind them. So that's definitely one of the things that I'm feeling really confident teaching lately, is how to get that early acceleration. And the balance pad is, like you said, when you work on that hand pivot, and it's really something that you can kind of feel yourself gain the momentum, kind of like a Cody Bellinger. I don't know if you watch this sports science, but it's amazing how much energy you can create through that first move. So Last question is,
Yep.
as far as what you guys are doing in the future, is there room to kind of grow and get approved as far as for the major leagues? Is that something you guys are looking to do in the future?
It is. It hasn't been a big focus because of trying to continue to, I don't want to say refine the bat, but just, I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. I want to make sure that it's an absolute. I
Totally.
think it is. My own kids continue to use it. But it is, and I've looked into, as like any bat company has looked into the requirements to make it a MILB or MLB approved product. And we're probably a year away, just like we're probably a year away from hitting ABCA, the conference. I had some coaches this year kind of reach out to me, see if we were going to be there, and we made a pass on it this year. But we're going to be in Dallas next year for sure, because it'll give us a solid year of kind of the progression of the bat and about 4 years of research behind the bat. So we'll have some pretty good conclusions by then for
That's
sure.
great, man. Well, you guys got a great product, so I wish you all the best. I think one of the things that we run across with our guys at the shop, because they love the feel of it so much, is, you know, could I use this in a game?
Yeah.
um,
Well, in theory, not in theory, in reality, it is a game bat.
uh-huh.
Like from the youth level all the way to the pro level, because early on I looked at those regulations, and outside of bat length, barrel diameter, having a handle and then a knob, and then as far as knob goes, there's really no requirements outside of you just got to have a knob for safety. So
Exactly.
like I was worried about that early on. Like, is it someone going to take this into the game and then the umpire's going to kick it out? Now the umpire may kick him out, but it
That's
is a
funny.
game bat. And like some of the pros that are swinging it, I've talked to them too. And baseball and softball is a unique industry to be in, just because of consistency and history of the game. And no one's taken it into a game yet, although this model right here has a lower profile on it.
Uh-huh.
This is our screw-in knob.
Right.
This right here, you cut the knob off, it's just a wood bat. I mean, that's just all it is. It's just got a little additional element to it. And to be honest, you're probably going to see some companies come up with a similar knob. I remember watching the College World Series last year, and I think it's TCU, and almost to the player, every TCU player, a lot of them had, I assume it was just athletic tape, but they had a athletic tape that was wrapped right here, and then they were choked up a little bit. So in a way, it's a little bit of a balanced bat feel, a knob or not extended knob load. You're starting to see like people, and that's good. I'm always with a DIY kind of a guy myself, trying to make up their own balanced bats. One of the things I would say with that, though, just real quick, is that I looked at the length of the knob, the diameter of the knob, and the proportionalism of the knob. And one of the things, and I'm okay putting it out there, one of the things that makes the bat work, at least in my view, if you cut the knob off, you should be able to cut a spot off the sweet spot of the bat and replace it. So the knob, the diameter of the knob, and the length of the knob, especially with the trainers, match up pretty nicely with the sweet spot of the barrel. And I think that's what actually contributes to the balancedness of it and the weightlessness of the bat. And that's what makes part of what makes the bat work.
Well, yeah, man. I really appreciate your time. That's some good information about your product. Like I said, check them out at balancebat.com. Get yourself a balance bat. We use them every day. It's great for feel. If you're learning to take a shorter swing, it's a must. If you're trying to hit a faster speed, take a more compact swing, check these guys out, man. Tracy, really appreciate the time, buddy.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it too.